Topic for today is the flexor retinaculum. Look, flexor retinaculum is a thick fibrous band in front of the wrist. A thick fibrous band anterior to the wrist, 2 to 3 centimeter in width and 2 to 3 centimeter in length. 2 to 3 centimeter in length and breadth. Proximally, over here is the deep fascia. This proximal edge of it is continuous with the deep fascia of the forearm, and distally, over here is present the palmar aponeurosis. Distally, it is continuous with the palmar aponeurosis, and this you can see. This thick band. Look, this thick band. This is the flexor retinaculum at its distal border, continuous with the palmar aponeurosis, which covers muscle, and at its proximal border, it is continuous with the deep fascia of the forearm. And at the living, the proximal this border of the flexor retinaculum, it is at the level of the distal skin crease. This crease you can see, make it clear. This skin crease, which at the distal skin crease from over here, this is the flexor retinaculum. Okay. Now this flexor retinaculum is being provided over here actually by Almighty Allah to act like a pulley for the long flexor tendons. These long flexor muscles passes and ultimately reaches to the fingers. So these are very long. So this retinaculum is being put over here to act like a pulley, and the power of the muscle is being increased in this way. Okay, and over here you can also see this thick white band of fibrous tissue anterior to the wrist. Okay, now this, over here, the bones. You just look at the bones of the wrist. Look, scaphoid, lunate, triquetrum, and over here is a small bone, the pisiform. Then trapezium, trapezoid, capitate, and hamate. So this band laterally is being attached to the scaphoid and trapezium bone. Over here it is attached to the scaphoid and trapezium, and medially it is attached to the pisiform and the hook of hamate. So medially to the pisiform and hook of hamate, and laterally to the scaphoid and trapezium bone. Alright. Now, again you look over here and you look over here. The long tendons of the flexor muscles passes deep to the flexor retinaculum. Some of them passes superficial to the flexor retinaculum. And the tendons which passes deep to the flexor retinaculum, over here is a very crowded area, and the tendons and the nerves, they are very tightly being crowded over here deep to the flexor retinaculum. That's why all these tendons which passes deep to the flexor retinaculum, they are being enclosed in the synovial sheath. You can see these blue synovial sheaths which encloses the tendon by passing deep to the flexor retinaculum. And everywhere where there is tendon to tendon contact, and where there is tendon to bone contact, or where there is tendon to retinaculum contact, Allah has provided a synovial sheath to avoid so that friction or rubbing of the tendon is being in this way being prevented. It helps in lubrication. Alright. Now, what is the structure that passes deep to the flexor retinaculum? You can see over here, this one muscle, this is flexor carpi, radialis. and then flexor carpi radialis, and then you can see this muscle, flexor digitorum superficialis, and deep to it, that is flexor digitorum profundus, and deep to that over here is the flexor pollicis longus. Look, flexor carpi radialis passes deep to the flexor retinaculum, superficialis passes deep to the flexor retinaculum, profundus passes deep to the flexor retinaculum, and flexor pollicis longus passes deep to the flexor retinaculum. While you can see this palmaris longus, look, make it close, this passes superficial to the flexor retinaculum. Palmaris longus, it passes superficial to the flexor retinaculum and partially adherent to it. Okay, and over here the tendons of the flexor pollicis longus is being enclosed in its own synovial sheath, and the tendon of the flexor carpi radialis is being enclosed in its own synovial sheath, while the 8 tendons of flexor digitorum superficialis and profundus, they are being enclosed in a common synovial sheath like that. Look, there are 4 tendons of flexor digitorum superficialis, but arranged in 2 and 2, not in 4 in line. And then there are 4 tendons of flexor digitorum profundus arranged in 1 line over here. 4 tendons of superficialis, 2 in 2, and 4 tendons of profundus in 1 line. And note, look, the synovial sheath starts from over here like that. As for example, you put a balloon, one balloon over here, small balloon, and insert the tendon from the radial side into it, so that the radial side of this synovial sheath is open and the blood vessels can reach to these tendons from the radial side. Okay, the 8 tendons of the superficialis and profundus, they are being enclosed in a common synovial sheath, but in such a way that the synovial sheath is open towards the radial side. Okay, and the blood vessels enter into the tendons, reach to the tendons from this open side. Then the tendon of the flexor carpi radialis, look, there is the trapezium bone like this. It is having a groove, and this medial lip and lateral lip. The tendon of flexor carpi radialis lies in this groove, and this is the flexor retinaculum. Some fibers passes from the deep surface of flexor retinaculum to be attached to the lip of this groove. In this way, a separate canal is being formed over here in the groove of the trapezius for the tendon of flexor carpi radialis. This is a little bit specification of the tendon of flexor carpi radialis, that the tendon of flexor carpi radialis lies over here in the groove of the trapezium, and it is being enclosed over here separately in this groove. Okay, now the other structure that passes superficial to the flexor retinaculum, one is, you can see this palmaris longus. Okay, also deep before, look, deep are the 4 muscles, and then one big nerve. Look, this nerve, this is the median nerve, crowded in between these tendons. Crowded between these tendons, you can see this yellow median nerve that also passes deep to the flexor retinaculum. Note the point, the median nerve passes deep to the flexor retinaculum. But note that the median nerve, when passes deep to the flexor retinaculum over here, before it passes deep, it gives one branch which is called a superficial palmar cutaneous branch of the median nerve. That superficial branch passes superficial to the flexor retinaculum and reaches over here and supplies the skin of the thinner amines. Note this point, median nerve comes over here, passes deep to the retinaculum, but one branch from it passes superficial to the retinaculum and supplies the skin of the thinner amines. And it is this reason that the compression of the median nerve in the carpal tunnel do not affect the skin of the thinner amines, because this nerve passes superficial to the retinaculum. Okay, so the median nerve. And then You can see over here, look, the ulnar nerve and ulnar artery. It also passes superficial to the flexor retinaculum. The palmar cutaneous branch of the median nerve also passes superficial to the flexor retinaculum. The palmar branch, superficial branch of the radial artery, it also passes superficial to the flexor retinaculum. The palmaris longus tendon also passes superficial to the flexor retinaculum. And over here in this lateral part, the ulnar artery and the ulnar nerve present anterior or superficial to them is a fibrous tissue like this. A fibrous tissue lies in front of it, and over here make a canal-like structure anterior to the flexor retinaculum, through which passes this ulnar artery and ulnar nerve, and this is being called as canal of Guyot. Canal of Guyot is anterior to the flexor retinaculum and being formed by fibrous tissue and through which passes the ulnar artery and ulnar nerve. This is called as canal of Guyot. So superficially passing ulnar artery and ulnar nerve, the palmaris longus tendon, superficial palmar branch of median nerve, superficial palmar branch of the radial artery as well. Okay. Now another point. Now note that look, these are the carpal bones, and the carpal bones are concave. They are arranged like this, that these are concave toward the front, and over here is the flexor retinaculum like this, attached laterally to the scaphoid and trapezium and medially to the pisiform and the hook of Hamet. In this way, a tunnel is being formed over here between the flexor retinaculum and the carpal bone, which are convex, which are concave toward the anterior side, and this is being called as carpal tunnel. And passing through the carpal tunnel, you know already, is the tendon of radialis, palmaris longus, the tendon of radialis, flexor palmaris longus, and a tendon of digitorum and the median nerve. All of them passes deep to the flexor retinaculum. And you know, over here they are very tightly crowded. That's why sometimes infection in the synovial sheaths or due to arthritis of the joint infection, there is accumulation of fluid or pus in the carpal tunnel. What happens that when there is accumulation of fluid, the median nerve, because there is very less space, the median nerve is being compressed over here. It is being brought into pressure, and when it is compressed, you know, then the median nerve distally, the function of it would be impaired, which we call it as carpal tunnel syndrome. So by definition, carpal tunnel syndrome is the compression of the median nerve in the carpal tunnel due to arthritic change or due to synovitis or due to edema, due to any other reason. Then what happens that when the median nerve passes deep to the flexor retinaculum and enters into the hand, it supplies the muscles of the thinner amines. So the thinner amines muscles would be wasted. When you compare the two, that thinner muscle, they will be weak or less in mass or wasted. And then the cutaneous supply of the lateral 3.5 finger is also from the median nerve, so the cutaneous sensation would be impaired. मरीज कहेगा मुझे इतना ज़्यादा पता इधर नहीं चलता जितना मुझे इधर पता चलता है in the carpal tunnel. But the skin of the thinner amines would not be affected. Why? Because I told you that one branch of the median nerve comes separate proximal to the flexor retinaculum and passes superficial to supply the skin. That's why in carpal tunnel syndrome, the skin of the thinner amines would not be affected. The muscles deep to it would be affected, while the skin would be not affected. But the skin of the 3.5 lateral fingers would also be affected. And you know, the thinner muscle would be affected, so the proximal joints of the thumb would be affected, but the distal joint, over here is attached the flexor pollicis longus muscle, and the flexor pollicis longus muscle is being supplied over here. That's why the flexor pollicis longus muscle would also not be affected, and the flexion of the distal phalanx of the thumb would be normal, but the flexion of the proximal phalangeal joints of the thumb would be affected. But if the median nerve is compressed higher up, somewhere over here or somewhere over here in ligament of Struther, then what will happen, that the skin of this area would also be affected, the distal phalanx of the thumb would also be affected, and this long flexor muscle would also be affected. So we would then say as a doctor that the median nerve is being compressed probably at higher level, not in the carpal tunnel. But if only the thenar eminence is affected and the skin of the lateral three finger is affected, but the distal phalanx of the thumb is not affected, then we say that the median nerve is being compressed in the carpal tunnel, in the carpal tunnel syndrome. At the same time, now we take advantage that you already know over here deeply, most deeply over here. Sorry. Is the product quadratus muscle. If you put your hand deep to the flexor digitorum superficialis and deep to the flexor digitorum profundus, your hand passes over here, and this space lying deep to the flexor digitorum superficialis and flexor digitorum profundus, this space is being called a space of Perona. And this space of Perona is being limited proximally by this oblique origin of flexor digitorum superficialis. Why we mention this space of Perona? Because sometimes the infection from the carpal tunnel may extend higher up into the space of Perona, and the patient comes to you with a complaint, Doctor Sahab, pehle there was a pain and swelling in this area, now the swelling is being increased over here to the forearm. Then you think, yes, the infection from the carpal tunnel is being, it is spread to the space of Perona. Then what you do, when you give one cut over here and one cut over here, and the abscess can be drained very easily. So that is space of Perona and carpal tunnel and flexor retinaculum and carpal tunnel syndrome. And I hope you have got it. Thank you very much.